All right. Welcome to the Ultra High Net Worth Clients Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Broadhead. We started this podcast as a way to create a central resource of the best financial advisor practice growing tips shared by the most outstanding advisors in the industry, of which our guest today is definitely one. These outstanding financial advisors agree to be on the show and provide a ton of value for free, all in the hopes that our audience might learn from their words. My father was a financial advisor, and financial advisors are the main clients we serve. So my marketing agency's mission is to help every financial advisor grow their business in an effort to help the world become more financially secure. Today, we have the rare pleasure of talking with an incredible financial advisor, Andy Betts. Andy, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Hi, everybody. I'm Andy. Let's see. I've been doing this since 2007. I work for a firm that's called Bickling Financial Services. We have offices in Lynnfield, Massachusetts, Lexington, Massachusetts, and Easton, Massachusetts. We have 14 people on our team, and we manage about $1 billion in assets.
Wow. Okay, 2007. That is a wild time to get in this industry.
Yeah, it's really funny. So my son is going into his senior year in high school, and he's taking a class in economics this year. So school starts in about 2 weeks, and the teacher assigned him to read the book Freakonomics over the summer.
Great book. Great
Yeah.
book.
And so actually, the night before last, we watched The Big Short.
Oh,
Uh,
I love that movie.
yeah, it's a great movie. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so it was just such memory lane of like that is right when I got into the business. And I've met many of those people since, which is pretty awesome too. But it was really just amazing to see not only reminders of what happened then, but then sort of the kind of what was in the aftermath and what did we learn and all that. So really cool for a kid who's about to take an economics class to see, one of the worst blow-ups of the economy ever.
Yeah. What an amazing time to be growing up right now. Like there's like when we were growing up, it's like we had books and maybe like a boring mini series. And now we have like A-list actor movies and TV shows like talking about these, major events. Like what a great I would have learned everything.
Yep. So, and I'll give you the parallel. So when I was in high school, I took an economics class, and that class was in the fall of 1987.
Oh wow.
And so, yeah, in the middle of this class, we had the 87 crash, and just to see sort of it kind of came out of nowhere. It evaporated pretty quickly, recovered by about the end of the class. So really fascinating just to see like that as your kind of formative experience in the world of economics and investing. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that this fall is easier for him. We could just learn from the movies. We don't have to learn from real life.
Yes, yes, I second that thought. So is your son thinking about going into the business?
No, he wants to be an aerospace engineer. He wants to design airplanes and fly airplanes. Anything to do
Cool.
with airplanes, he's going to do it.
All right, good for him. Yeah. And then once he does that for, 20 or 30 years, he can start an advisor practice helping
There,
other aaerospace engineers
there
invest
you go.
their
There you go. Great idea. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I love this industry. It's and it's really under served. There are just not a lot of great ways in, to an RIA. There's a few ways to get in as kind of an assistant and helping out, but really trying to start this kind of a business today, I think it's so hard. I have so much respect for those who are able to do it. But the failure rate is incredible.
Yeah, yeah. I have a number of calls each week with up and coming advisors, just started, and
Yeah.
they're just the dour look on some of their faces. I'm like, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I have some good ideas for you.
Yeah. And so for me, I mean, I don't take credit for having started a business in this industry. I joined my mother and my brother. My mother started this business
Oh,
actually in
oh
1984.
wow.
So if you can imagine what starting a financial advisory practice independent as a woman in 1984, unbelievable. The challenges that she went through. And my brother joined her, my younger brother joined her in 2000. So, you know,
Hmm.
he's been in this business 7 years longer than I have.
Wow.
And we really built a different business than the one that I joined. When I joined, you know, the three of us kind of, worked solo, and we were all kind of like, I have my clients and you have your clients, and we're all kind of operating under the same roof, but we don't really communicate all that much about our clients other than to, give each other a little bit of advice. Um, Now it's really a team that we've built,
Mm.
and
Hmm.
it's a little bit different for those clients that we've had for this length of time, where, you know, they're used to calling me for everything. Oh, I want a distribution, Andy. Oh, can you send a check to this charity? Oh, can we, make this trade? I'm worried about this, that, or the other thing. And now it's like, well, we've got 14 people here, and I don't really do a whole lot in the way of making distributions or sending checks to charity. We've got other folks who do that, and I spend more of my time doing research, traveling, meeting with new potential clients, and then, of course, spending time with my client base, my existing clients. I try
Hmm.
to, what was, when I started, I was probably 90% administrative and 10% client services. And I try to turn that on the other side, and just, spend 90% of my time either learning about what's going on in the world, or communicating that to clients and distilling it down and communicating it.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
I try to get
Yeah.
away from the, you know, send the K1s to the all that. But we do have
Yeah.
to do that, and we're very, very good at that. I think if you want to get into to private investments, you've got to get very good at helping CPAs who are not as used to, dealing with complex investments as you would hope.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Kind of, focused on the high level stuff that requires your expertise, and letting your team handle the kind of, more common. I mean, your mom she's a pioneer. Like RIAs, like even post 2000, they were rare. How did she know, being a fiduciary was going to be the new cool thing to do?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, probably some of it's luck. I mean, she was. How old was she? She was like 44 when she started. And
Wow.
um, so under as an undergraduate, she studied accounting. And then when, my father joined the military, she was an accountant everywhere he got posted. So she'd, work for the PX, or she'd work for some CPA firm, helping out. And then uh, they got divorced, and she went to graduate school for psychology, and became a psychology professor at Northeastern University here in Boston. And then she didn't get tenure. And if you're a university professor and you don't get tenure, you basically you're given a year to go figure it out someplace else. Just you ain't got to go home,
Mm.
but you can't stay here. So um, she's like, there's this thing that looks like it combines anyway, accounting and psychology, and it's called financial planning. And
Mm.
so she became one of the first 600 people to be a certified financial planner. Now, I don't know if you know
Wow.
much about the certified financial planner numbering system, but they give you a number when you sign up. And like the first time you say, I'm gonna sign up for this program, and I'm gonna take these classes, take this exam, get this experience, and then try to become a CFP. My number is 151,488. One of our staff just got his, he just passed the exam and he's 480,000. My
Wow.
mother's number is 576. And that's when, that the number is issued to you when you start the program. So I'm sure, at that time it wasn't as recognized of a designation, and I'm sure half the people dropped out. And
Mhm.
of the remainder, how many were women? I have no idea, but it can't be more than a handful. Just given the demographics of the industry then. I mean, now it's still like three-quarters men, but at that time, I'm sure it was 90 plus,
Oh, yeah,
right?
99.9.
Yeah, and so she was the point oh 0.01 or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, she still works. She's 85 this year, and
Wow.
she's still going strong. Like I said, though, the business is very different, right? So we went from, it being, one advisor does everything for you, from, filling out the paperwork to, to making the investment decisions, to giving you your distributions, to now we've really got a team approach, and we've got lots of, our clients end up knowing 10 or 12 names instead of just one. So, I have the utmost respect for this generation of people before me who really built an industry that we can thrive in, that's not focused on like shoving product down clients' throats, but really about identifying problems and finding solution to those problems. And like I said, I think, half of the people probably dropped out. So really, of those who got the designation, she's probably in the top, couple of hundred, and top
Mhm.
handful of women to have done it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how did she, 1984, not the most open-minded. We've all seen Mad Men, and
Yeah,
heard stories. My
yeah,
mom's told me stories about working in the 80s. How did she build the practice?
yeah. But it just little bit by little bit. So she had a full-time job and started the business on the side. So she continued to work her full-time job during the day. And then at night, she did things like um, adult education and the community education at the local high schools. And it used to be, and it doesn't work anymore, but it used to be that she could, put on a class and get 15 or 20 couples to come to
Mm,
these like
mhm.
free, community education at the high school at night kind of classes about investments and about planning for retirement. And you got to remember, the 401k was a new concept. The pension had been the dominant concept, up until the late 70s. So the 401k was relatively new, and folks were going to, into work and, talking to their parents who may have just had a pension. And so it was all done for them. And now they had questions, and they had nobody who could answer those questions. So my mother um, made herself available, and from time to time she'd get a client or two out of that deal. And I
Mm.
got to say that many of those clients were just the people that we knew. So my third grade teacher is still a client. Honest to God, I see her every 6 months. She still works with my mother. I see her,
Wow.
and she's fantastic. Really nice person, and all of that, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was others. There were other high school teachers and middle school teachers who were our my family's clients. Many of whom have since passed, so that's really kind of sad. But I see my third grade teacher all the time. Uh, she was a college professor, so there were many other college professors who became clients. And my mother needed a broker dealer because she didn't do a wirehouse. She did it independent, like from day one. And so she was going to work for some other guy, and something didn't work out there, but that other guy was connected to a firm called Linsco. And so my mother had, had some conversations with the folks over there. And so she basically called into this guy named Todd Robinson, who was the CEO of Linsco, and essentially just begged it and, said, hey, you don't have any women. How about one? And, Linsco merged with a firm called Private Ledger and then formed LPL. And so, our history at LPL goes back to the early 80s, and it went through 2020. In 2020, we branched off from that and formed our own RIA. They had a hybrid model where you did your advisory business as an RIA, and then you did your brokerage business through them. And we did that starting in, I think, 2012 or 2013. And then, we ended up buying a practice, and their assets were custodied at Schwab, and we decided not to move the assets from Schwab to LPL, and that caused a lot of friction. And then, we ended up seeing the light and deciding that going fully independent as an RIA made the most sense.
Mhm. Wow. I feel like your mom could write a very compelling memoir if she
Yeah.
hasn't already.
uh, yeah, I'm
Definitely.
sure that there's enough that she could pull out of the Wayback Machine about what life was like as a woman in this industry in the 80s to fill more than one book.
Yeah. I would enjoy reading that book. So if you see her, tell and
Answer.
don't mind, tell her I said that. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, your mom, just bravely,
Yep.
went into this insanely male dominated industry. I shudder to think of more male dominated industries in the 1980s than this one.
Yeah, right.
Just, was relentless, just wouldn't stop until it worked.
Mhm.
And then your brother came aboard in 2000, you came aboard in 2007.
Yep.
What inspired you to come aboard?
Well, it was conversations with the two of them, and talking about what we could possibly do together. And we talked about the idea at that time. Like I think at that time they managed about $75 million, and the idea. We were looking around in the industry and decided that really one a firm needed to be closer to $200 million in order to have appropriate scale at that time.
Mhm.
And so, I had my career started as a chemical engineer. I, you know, worked down in Louisiana for many years along the river. A big firm called American Cyanamid that became called Cytec, and then it became another company and another. And we are making ammonia and sulfuric acid. And then I left that and went to graduate school for business, and went to Babson College up here for an MBA, and then worked at Fidelity for a little while, working on the group that manages the Johnson family money. It's called Fidelity Capital at the time. Now it's called Devonshire. And we bought and sold companies. They didn't put a whole lot of their money in the mutual funds. They seeded them, but then their family wealth goes into things like the Seaport Hotel and Boston Coach, which it used to be like a black car taxi service around the city. Let's see what else. City of London Telephone. That's a project that I worked on a bit. But they did just a lot of different things with their money. So I worked there for a little while, and then I ended up working for one of the portfolio companies that sold wine through internet and direct mail. That was a lot of fun. So I worked there for another 6 years or so. And my time at that business was coming to an end, and I needed to find sort of the next challenge that I wanted to do. And So we had some conversations and, driving from where they were to where they wanted to be and having somebody with a little bit of a different background from theirs. My brother he worked as a computer programmer for about 5 years before joining my mother. And so, they had their background. I had something that I could bring to the table. And so then we started growing. And, little did we know that we'd get cut in half before we really started growing.
Mm.
2008 was a pretty tough time. Uh,
Yeah.
and, fortunately, we really didn't lose clients during
Mhm.
2008. I think, we did some good things. Having rewatched The Big Short, we weren't that smart. Not as smart as some of those guys who were figuring out how awful the housing market was. But the one thing I guess we did kind of figure out is that the government was going to bail everybody out. So all of those, what we ended up, buying a lot of for a lot of clients were some of these, bonds that were issued by Countrywide or by the auto credit companies, Toyota Motor Credit, Ford Motor Credit, that kind of thing. And those were all selling at 70 cents on the dollar or something. I think Countrywides were selling at 45 cents on the dollar, and they all were money good in the end. So, we did make some people a few bucks that way. But, we did our best to try to ride that out. Like I said, we're not geniuses and we're not day traders and we're not, we are financial planners to our core. So, a lot of what we were doing then is just kind of rebalancing and reallocating money. And, when 2009 and 10 rolled around, we did look a whole lot better because we didn't panic and we didn't, jump out and avoid the recovery. I think that's people try to avoid the decline and they end up avoiding the recovery. I think that's the lesson that I've learned from as many years as I've been in the industry. And I know there's lots of other people out there who've been in this industry for a lot longer than I have. But what I've learned is that you don't want to avoid the recovery.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So I mean, what a varied career you led up to this. Sound like you had a lot of different opportunities and a lot of different fields, which I'm sure aids in your advisor perspective and advice. So what were like the key decisions and key strategies that helped you go from 75 to 40 to a billion?
Yeah, exactly. So there's been a lot of acquisition along the way.
Mm.
We've made five
Wow.
acquisitions, so that's helped. One of them, we found a guy who wanted to sell his practice in the summer of 2009. Um, it was his choice, but it certainly worked out well for us. We've along the way, acquired, like I said, four others, and that's helped. Um, the other thing is we've got really good relationships with accountants and attorneys, and we get really good referrals from those folks. And then I got to say, like my mother comes from a farming family, and we grew up summers going out to the farm. I think one of the things that you learn from a farming family is patience. And, this is not the kind of business that you can go into and expect to make a killing in a couple of years. You can become an overnight success, but it's going to take you 10 years to get there. All this, it just all of a sudden happens. And like by, you know, 2017, if I started in 2007, by 27 or 2018, 2017 or 2018, I was making 10 times what I'd made prior to starting here. So yeah, you can do it. It just takes time. It's a process of growth. That if you want to extend the farming analogy, it's planting the seeds and watering the seeds, and you can't argue with them about growing faster or rolling more money over faster. It just is going to happen when it happens. And, if you've got enough seeds out there planted, you're going to have pretty nice business eventually. And, that works with the centers of influence. I mean, you can talk to accountants about referring their clients over, but they're going to refer when they refer, and, you're going to do everything right and service the hell out of the clients, and make the CPA happy, make the client happy, and hopefully it's going to happen again and again. And every once in a while that CPA is just going to run into someone who has $50 million that's not being properly managed, or he's going to run into someone who's turning 70 and wanting to get rid of all of the rental real estate that he's owned over all of these years, and now needs to unlock all of that equity. Yeah, I have had clients, just the kinds of folks that I think many in our industry would turn away, who've become my biggest clients. And they haven't become my biggest clients because there was something obvious there, but like, I had a client who just happened to move to the West Coast and start a business. Okay, I've been helping you for all these years with your $50,000 account. I'm happy to continue to do that. I'm happy to, when I fly out to the West Coast, I'll make a trip up to see you. And, if I'm there, I'm not going to be able to, fly out for that relationship, but I'm going to be able to, to stay connected, either, by phone, or now by video, or by, when I'm out that way and I can spare half a day driving out. But then, that business that you start, well, that might be worth $50 million someday. And that's a real story. And, that's a real sizable account today.
Yeah.
You know, we got uh, we've got a client who's like third generation in the food distribution business, and he's turned that from a corner store into multi-$100 million distribution business. And at some point along the way, he's gonna want to sell that. And now it's not an enormous relationship. In the future, maybe it will be. There's so many other stories like that, but I think that so many people in our industry want to have the hunter mentality, want to get that big account today. And I think just the incentives in the wirehouse or insurance businesses are really focused on, you've got to produce this quarter or next quarter, and it works for them. It just doesn't work for me. It's not the way I
Hmm.
want to work with people. It's not the way I want to counsel my employees to work with people. I want them to go out there and find the people who have potential, rather than the other side. The other side, they're going to get served, and it's great. And if one of them wants to come to work with me, I'm not turning them away. But I'd rather build the field and watch it grow.
Yeah. Amen. I love the holistic approach. Awesome. Well, this interview has been amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to share some of these amazing experiences that you and your family have experienced in this industry.
Yeah.
I have one final question for you. It's an open-ended question. You can take it in any direction that you like. And that question is, what are you working towards?
Ah, that's great. So here's what I'm working towards. I know I am 54 years old, and I have the ability to do this job for probably 20 more years. But I have 50 and 60-year-olds walking into my office every day who plan on living longer than 20 years. Okay. And I don't want to go back to that 60-year-old when she's 80 and tell her that now's the time you got to find somebody else, because I'm not going to be the one for you in your 80th and 90th decade of life. So, what I'm really trying to do here is build permanence and build an organization that can be um, you, where you can have the relationships with an individual, not with an institution, but with an individual that's going to last for a long time. We're going to have the person who's going to be there in 20 years. We may have them already employed here. We may be hiring them later. I don't know. But we want to have a 5 or 10 year period of time where that person works here and then takes over this relationship so that the people that I'm serving today have a relationship for their life. I think if we do that, then lots of other good things flow from that. That reduces turnover, that creates a relationship with the next generation, so that we will have a business here, and this name, Bickling Financial Services, is going to last well beyond my lifetime. Unfortunately, I have two kids. Neither one of them are particularly interested in this. I don't know that I was at that age. In high school, I have a sophomore and a junior. Sorry, a junior and a senior now. Oh my God. But if they want to, join the business, certainly that'll be great. But that's not my sort of first plan. My plan A is that I've got a team of 14. Of those, only 3 are older than I am, and so we really hope that we're going to build something that's permanent.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. Taking care of your clients past your point of ability to do that. That's a beautiful thing. Where can our audience? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's all that. You hit it on the head. Like, serve your clients. You do that, and everything else good flows from that. Like, you serve your clients, they don't leave. You serve your clients, they're going to refer their friends. You serve your clients, their accounts are going to grow. You serve your clients, they're going to tell their CPA, and it's going to network out from there. And all of this, good stuff flows, and that's how you turn a business from 75 million into a billion under management. And now we're going to turn this from 1 billion to 2 billion to 4 billion to 8 billion. It's going to happen. It's not going to happen tomorrow. We have to know that we're not going to buy $1 billion practice, merge them together, and then have a $2 billion practice. Not going to happen. But we are going to continue to grow organically through markets and all of that. And I think the future of the industry is incredibly bright. I think I said it before, we are way, way understaffed in this industry. That you go to conferences and the average age gets a year older every year. There's not nearly enough people coming in. And, if you're a young person looking at a podcast like this, I think you should really give this some serious thought. This is an industry that will work well for a lot of people.
Sorry. Absolutely.
I interrupted.
Amen. Yeah. Where can my audience find out more about you?
Oh yeah, sure. Bickling.com is our website. Welcome to find out more there. We have clients all over the world, which is actually really kind of cool. I can't justify flying out to Sydney all the time to see, my client who's out there, but I can justify West Coast, center of the country, South, and Florida, and all of that to go and see folks. But yeah, we work with folks all over the country. Now everybody works on video anyway. So while I might fly out to see someone on the West Coast, the guy who lives 2 miles away from me might want to do only video conference, and that's fine. We've all come to, adapt to this stuff since the pandemic, this video conferencing stuff. But yeah, if you want to learn more, bickling.com is our website.
Great. And we will link that in the show notes and everywhere we post the podcast. Andy, thank you so much for taking the time, man. This was a pleasure.
Great. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. And to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in, and keep on growing out there, everybody. See ya.